some personal finance now with Dr. Roger Gewolb, who joins us now, CEO of Fair Money, personal finance and credit expert. Morning to you, Dr. Roger. We've been talking about this morning, this first story, and that is electric vehicles. Apparently, we're all buying them in our droves.
Absolutely. Good morning, Cristo.
Morning.
Sales of EVs or electric vehicles are skyrocketing almost as fast as the rising cost of putting petrol or diesel into traditional cars. Auto Trader reports that EVs have reached 30.7% of views on their platform over the weekend, and that the Kia EV6 is now not only the most popular selling electric vehicle, but unbelievably is the most in-demand car of any fuel type on the Auto Trader platform. Another South Korean brand, Hyundai, is close behind it. So I think it remains to be seen whether this upward trend will continue, given the extraordinary array of diverse factors affecting oil prices and the desire to shift to EVs. These include the price of oil recently falling below $100 a barrel due to the outbreak of more COVID in China. People, billions of people are going to drive less. The possibility of an Iran deal, meaning that we will start buying their oil, and the possibility of India announcing that it might buy the recently shunned Russian oil at discount prices. In addition to possibly falling petrol prices, I've talked on this program before about the scarcity of charging points for these cars,
yes,
both free and paid, and the fact that some local councils and motorway service stations and other people who charge for these, Cristo, are charging exorbitant rates. Apparently, some motorway service stations are charging 3 times your home electricity rates to charge your car.
So that is not going to make people enthusiastic, but clearly it's not putting people off. Who'd have thought Kia, Hyundai, those brands that we perhaps used to mock? But I have to say myself, when I see a Kia or there's a Hyundai one called Ioniq 5, they're beautiful. I mean, they're no longer sort of, you used to be able to tell, you could just even look at the side of it. You think, oh, that's not that's perhaps one of those ropey brands. No more are they ropey brands. They're actually coming out with really beautiful cars.
And you're absolutely right. And until recently, very recently, Tesla was the largest selling, fastest selling car in Europe. They're gorgeous, all of those cars. They're not, I don't want to get sued, but they're not Skodas anymore.
No,
well, even
Skodas aren't Skodas anymore. I mean, there's very few, but all those brands we used to mock, which really have turned the corner. Okay, now, if you're a Chelsea fan this morning, you might be relieved to hear that the money to buy your club might not be coming from Saudi Arabia after all.
Yes, amid mounting speculation about the unexpected effects of a possible collapse of a major Premier League football team, effects on football, on the UK economy, maybe even on the pounds in our pockets, yet another potential bidder for Chelsea has emerged with speculation that an offer, a bid, might actually appear today or by tomorrow at the latest. Thomas Ricketts, the owner of the Chicago Cubs baseball team, is expected to reach an agreement by the end of the week, say many pundits. Now, as it happens, Cristo, I grew up in Chicago. In fact, next to the fabled Wrigley Field, the home of the Cubs. And they've always been my favorite baseball team, despite their abysmal record during an historically long period. Just as people say anyone can have a bad year, Chicagoans say anyone can have a bad century. And they weren't talking about cricket. The famous Billy Goat curse meant that the Cubs won the World Series. The Cubs were founded in 1876 as the White Stockings. They won the World Series in 1908. They didn't win another World Series until 2016, 108 years. So they really had a very bad century. So it would be good to see them take over a team like Chelsea that's been so successful since Abramovich took control some 20 years ago.
be interesting to see what happens with that. Another story this morning, which has really interested people. Actually, I've got a tweet on it, which I'll read you, because it's about cold callers. And Let's Go Storm, who is on Twitter, says, my friend, when cold called about a PC security problem they'd supposedly been alerted to, told them to hold while she put her IT department on. She then passed the phone to her 2-year-old granddaughter, who loved to talk. I mean, that is one way of solving people who are cold callers. But now the Information Commissioner wants to take some action.
Yes, I mean, this is what's happened here is really the very top of the iceberg, because it's so bad. We all get these dreadful nuisance calls, which are becoming, about the same as spam email. And one way to deal with them is indeed, as that lady's daughter did, which is just, chat away and drive them crazy, or don't put the phone down. But the ICO, you're quite right, the Information Commissioner's Office has finally taken some action and fined 5 firms for taking undue advantage of older and vulnerable people, selling them insurance.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Things they didn't need, and where they weren't even aware what was happening. Now, the worst part about this is that the firms that were fined were making tens of thousands of calls to people who had signed up for TPS, the telephone protection, or what telephone preference service. The telephone preference service, exactly. Thank you. If you register with them and say, I don't want these calls anymore, it's illegal for these people to be calling you. And these 5 firms were fined because they ignored that and kept calling people who said, I don't want these calls, and then pushing things at them and selling them things. And many of them were older and vulnerable people. So I hope this is the start of a trend where they'll move on from that and reduce the number of these calls we get permanently.
Awful, but good news in that regard, that they're going to fine those companies. Really good to talk to you. Personal Finance Roundup there from the CEO of Fair Money, Personal Finance and Credit expert, Dr. Roger Gewolb. When we come back, we'll do some front pages and,